Well, the Dunkley by-election coming up this Saturday. This is crucial. We've got to get people out there to vote for the coalition. I'll have a listen to the Labor candidate struggling to string two words together. Maybe she's been copying the Joe Biden handbook. Have a listen.
Do you regret that your campaigns had to go the low road a little bit?
Look, you know, I'm voting I'm campaigning to provide facts.
That's reassuring. Rita.
I like facts, so you know what? She's much better at expressing herself in those interviews than she is when she writes things down, because post-referendum, this is what Jodie Bellier had to say about the vote. And let's not forget, Dunkley, 56% of people voted no. She said, I feel so many heavy emotions because of the displays of what I can only describe as the worst of white privilege in the country. So she is essentially calling the majority of that electorate, Dunkley, majority Victoria voted no, but Dunkley, 56%. And if that's where she's at, the voters should be aware of that. There's been very little said about that. It is pretty crucial, but Labor are still in the box seat. They're favoured with the bookies. They're expected to hold on to that seat. So it would be quite a coup for Dutton's Liberals to pick that up.
Well, let's make that coup happen. Forget white privilege. Let's have voter privilege, your privilege to get out there and boot these lot. Punt them out, James.
Well, you know what's also been really, really interesting in this is that you've got Advance, you know, the group that was very instrumental in helping to win the No campaign. And they've been out there putting out ads like this and driving trucks around, reminding voters in Dunkley that Labor has done a number of things, including allowed those 149, I think, different criminals, rapists, pedophiles, murderers out on the street. The left is absolutely losing their mind. Labor is losing their mind. You know, we saw the candidate there who clearly went to the Brad Banducci School of Media Training, deciding that they were going to, say that they were in favor of facts. And yet now you have all of these people. And by the way, the same sort of people who cheered Get Up, the same sort of people who cheered on Simon Holmes Court backing in the Teals with a fortune, saying, oh, Advance is just shady rich people coming in and interfering in elections. And of course, it's like, come on, guys. Suddenly, the right starts to take up some of the tactics that the left has been playing with in different ways for 10, 20 years in this country, and it's the end of the world.
So Simon Holmes Court, he's not a rich guy who interferes in elections. No, definitely not. Okay.
Different
rules for different folks.
The Teals, Rowan, are all independent.
They're not a party. Don't ever say they're a party.
Don't call them Teals, in fact. I retract the Teal comment I just made. No, they're all independent. It is funny, isn't it? Because there are so many of these activist leftist groups that are prominent in the debate. There's think tanks that are overwhelmingly left-leaning. But anytime there's a right-leaning version, whether it's the IPA or whether it's Advances, they have meltdowns. It is a complete threat to democracy. It's unspeakable that Conservatives should employ some of the tactics that the left have employed very successfully for many years. And Advance get the message across. They're very good at understanding the issues that the electorate care about.
Absolutely.
And if they weren't talking about issues that people cared about, they wouldn't be impactful. So if you actually think they have an argument, do something about it. I mean, the way the Albanese government has mishandled this detention issue just speaks to how inept they are, because they've had now months to actually do something meaningful, at least monitoring these people, rearresting them. They had that emergency legislation that passed through. They haven't used that emergency.
No, but this is the joke. James.
The thing is about this, they try and act like, oh, well, this is a great big sort of, you could even call this misinformation, even that Labor says, which is that, we had to let them out because the High Court and all of that. Well, yes, fine, that's true. But when they were being briefed on how the case was progressing, Home Affairs, the Immigration Minister Andrew Giles, who, let's not forget, got into politics when he decided to become an advocate for the people on the MV Tampa back in 2001. This tells you where their sympathies lie, and they were MIA when the Australian government solicitor went to have meetings with them and say, this case isn't going our way, you need to get legislation ready, and they didn't have it, and that's why Peter Dutton had to step into the breach. That is what Labor doesn't want to talk about.
Giles was in London spruiking the voice
Yes.
when these meetings were happening.
At least one of the meetings, yes.
In his office. Another time he was somewhere around Canberra spruiking the voice. He wasn't in his office at the meeting. So we shouldn't be shocked that they kind of didn't see this coming, because the signs were there that this High Court decision was going to go against them, and they had no contingency plans there at all. And even now, months later, when they've had that emergency legislation go through, they do not seem to be serious about.
As the advance ad says very clearly, the Albanese government released pedophiles, rapists and murderers into the community. That community, your community, the Australian community. And those ads very clearly and very simply ask, well, how many of those individuals have wound up in the electorate of Dunkley? And if you object to what the Albanese government has done so recklessly, so carelessly on so many fronts, then this next Saturday is an opportunity. Get out, persuade your friends, your neighbours, vote for the coalition, get rid of this clown show, get rid of it. Now,